You know that feeling, right? When you're in an argument that just feels impossible. A conversation where plain logic seems to bend and twist, and every single point you make gets turned around and used against you. It is so frustrating. It's completely exhausting. And honestly, it can leave you questioning your own sanity. Well, today we are going to pull that entire experience apart, piece by piece. We're going to give this tactic a name, and more importantly, we're going to lay out a clear, actionable plan to escape it.
It always starts something like this. You engage in a debate with the controller, pointing out the logical flaw in their argument, only to find that your rational counterpoint is immediately met with a demand that invalidates your own position. See, this isn't just some heated disagreement, it's a psychological trap, and it's been set with absolute precision. You think you're playing a game of chess, making all the right, logical moves, but your opponent? They're playing a totally different game, one where your own logic is the very thing that guarantees you lose.
And that leads us to the absolute core question of this whole thing. Why does pure logic, the one tool we rely on for truth and reason, fail so completely in these moments? Well, this is the dark paradox of something called a contradiction loop. It's a self-consuming argument, a frame that's specifically designed to have no resolution, where your own mind becomes the weapon that's used against you.
So here's how we're going to break this all down today. First, we'll talk about that feeling of being stuck in the unwinnable argument. Then, we're going to give this thing a name by defining the contradiction loop. Next, we'll map out the three-phase trap that makes it all work. After that, we'll dive into the psychology of the game. And then, the most important part, how to break free. And we'll finish up with the powerful final step, terminating the argument.
Okay, so let's start with that feeling, that pit in your stomach when a conversation just goes off the rails into an unwinnable argument. It's what we call the paradox of rational defense. The more calm and logical you try to be, the more ground you seem to lose. Now here's the key. This is not because your logic is wrong. It's because the game you're in was never about logic. It's about power. It's about control, and you've been handed the wrong rulebook from the very start.
So, what is this trap really? Let's get into section 2 and actually define the contradiction loop. You know, there is so much power in just giving a name to something confusing and painful. It's the first step to taking its power away. Because what you're experiencing isn't just a difficult chat. It's a very specific and identifiable tactic of cognitive abuse.
So, here it is. A contradiction loop is a tactic that uses logically impossible demands to shut down your ability to think straight. It's a really advanced form of gaslighting. You know, that manipulation that's designed to make you question your own grip on reality. And the goal? It's simple: compliance. The whole point is to paralyze your brain with nonsense until you're just too tired to fight back and you give in. The term for this is compliance via rational paralysis.
Now, the entire trap is built on something called the irreconcilable demand. This is where the manipulator hits you with two demands that literally cannot exist at the same time. The classic example is this: I need you to be completely honest with me, but if your honesty upsets me, I'm going to punish you for being cruel. You see the trap there? It's a perfect paradox. You're set up to fail. Telling the truth gets you punished for cruelty, lying gets you punished for dishonesty. There is no right answer, and that is completely by design.
And that feeling of confusion is the setup for the most vicious part of this whole thing, the frame twist. This is the move that snaps the trap shut. The second you, the target, use your logic and say, wait a second, that makes no sense, the manipulator instantly twists your act of using logic into a character flaw. Your totally valid critique is immediately reframed as proof that you're the one who's cold or unfeeling or just plain difficult.
So that brings us right to the engine room. Section 3, the three-phase trap. I want you to see that this isn't just random, chaotic arguing. No, it's a system. It's a repeatable mechanism that's engineered specifically to break your ability to argue back. And once you see this pattern, you will never be able to unsee it. The whole process works in 3 predictable steps. First, there's the demand imposition. That's the impossible request. Second, and this is the key, is counter-argument absorption. And the third and final goal is your rational surrender. So let's zoom in on that critical second step, because that's where the magic trick happens.
Okay, look at this, because this is the whole game right here. On the left, you've got the victim's perfectly logical counter. That's an impossible situation. It's a fair point, right? But now look at the response on the right. That's the frame twist. The manipulator doesn't even touch the logic. They just absorb your rational energy and fire it back as a personal attack. Your focus on analyzing this proves you lack emotional depth. And just like that, The conversation is no longer about their impossible demand, it's now about your supposed character flaws.
And after a few rounds of that, you get to the final phase, rational surrender. Your brain is smart. It learns that trying to use logic in this situation only leads to more pain and more personal attacks. It's a dead end. So out of sheer mental exhaustion, you just stop. You give up. You surrender, not because you agree with them, but because it's just too painful to keep fighting. The manipulator wins by forcing you to abandon your own mind.
So the big question is, why does this work so well? Let's get into section 4 and talk about the psychology of the game. Because this isn't just a war of words, it's a collision of very different psychological needs.
This table really shows you how one-sided this fight is. The manipulator is motivated by justification and dominance. Their goal is control, impunity, basically the freedom to do whatever they want without being called out. Their weapon is linguistic invalidation, making your reality meaningless. Now look at the target. Your motivation is probably just a natural drive for things to make sense, for coherence. Your goal is probably just peace. And your vulnerability? It's something called cognitive dissonance, that deeply uncomfortable feeling you get when reality and what you're being told just don't match up. The manipulator creates that feeling on purpose, knowing you'll do almost anything to make it stop. All right, so we've dissected the trap. We know how it works. Now, how in the world do you get out of it? This brings us to section 5, how to break free. And here is the single most important insight. You don't win the game by playing better. You win by refusing to play at all. It's all about assertive disengagement. So here's your 3-step playbook. Step 1. Identify the twist. The second you hear your logic met with a personal attack, you need to say to yourself, there it is, the frame twist. Just naming it is a huge step. Step 2, adopt the factual stance. This means you refuse to get pulled into a debate about your tone or your intentions. You stick to the simple, objective fact. And step 3, enforce a no debate policy. The moment the argument shifts from the facts to you, the discussion is over. You walk away.
And to do that, you need a script ready to go. This right here, this is your exit ramp. A cannot be B. That is the fact. I will not discuss your interpretation of my logic. Just feel the power in that. It doesn't apologize, it doesn't justify, it doesn't argue. It states a fact, and then it builds a wall around it. It shuts down any attempt to make this about your character. It's you taking back control by refusing to play on their field.
And that brings us to our final and maybe most important section, terminating the argument. See, this isn't about getting the last word in. It's not about proving you were right all along. It's about protecting your sanity and your own sense of what's real. That's the empowering takeaway.
If you remember nothing else, remember this. Contradiction loops are not a misunderstanding. They are a weapon. They are a logic trap built for one purpose, to defeat your reason. You simply cannot win a debate that was never actually a debate in the first place.
So let's just run through the whole pattern one last time. Like watching a film. It always kicks off with the demand imposition, that impossible paradox that baits your logical mind. It practically forces you to step in and try to fix the flawed reasoning. But the moment you offer that perfectly reasonable defense, it gets absorbed and neutralized by the frame twist. Your attempt to bring clarity is immediately turned against you, reframed as a flaw in your own character.
And all of this is driving towards one single destination, your rational surrender. The moment you get exhausted, confused, and just give up, they've won. But knowing the pattern is your shield. Because by identifying that twist and by taking that factual stance, you refuse to let your own mind be used as a weapon against you.
And that, right there, is the ultimate key. The entire power dynamic shifts in the instant you make a choice. You don't have to defend your reasoning, you don't have to justify your thoughts. You break the logic trap the very moment you refuse to defend your mind from an attack that was never about logic anyway. You just state the fact and you walk away from the game.